So we know what is a discontinuing operation, right? We know that a discontinuing operation is a distinguishable component of an enterprise, agreed. It is representing a major line of business which you are planning to shut down, or it is considered to be a geographical area of operations from where I am withdrawing. For example, I have a factory in India, I have a factory, let us say, even in China, I even have a factory in some European country. One fine day I decide that the factory in China, I want to shut down that particular factory. That means you are withdrawing from China. If it is representing a major area of geographical operations, then that can also be considered to be a discontinuing operation. In this episode, we will discuss what is not a discontinuing operation, right? In the earlier episode, we understood that what will be the meaning of a discontinuing operation, but these four are the possibilities which are not a discontinuing operation, right? The very first one, phasing out a product line or class of service. This is not considered to be a discontinuing operation. Think about a car manufacturing company. Let us say the car manufacturing company is manufacturing 3 different models of cars. 2 models of cars are doing extremely well in the market, while a third model, there is not much demand for that model. Tell me, what will the car manufacturing company do? It will, over a period of time, shut down the production of the third model of the car. Right now in the market, there are 3 models of my cars which are available. Think of that. Let's say one hatchback model is available, one sedan model is available, one SUV model also I am selling. Now my SUV model is not doing that good in the market. So over a period of time, I will realize that there is not much demand for this model of the car. I will discontinue manufacturing that car. Discontinuing one of the products, it is not a discontinuing operation, right? That's what we are saying. Phasing out a product line or class of service does not amount to a discontinuing operation. See, this is nothing but, what you can say, a business strategy. If you are a rational business person, you will only sell those products in the market which are enjoying good demand. Some product is not enjoying good demand, it is very natural that you will stop manufacturing that product. This does not mean you are withdrawing from the business. For example, I was manufacturing those 3 cars. Now one SUV car is not doing that well, so I am discontinuing its production. Am I withdrawing from the business of car manufacturing? I will still manufacture the remaining 2 cars. It's only 1 car which I will no longer manufacture. That does not mean it's a discontinuing operation. A business person or a business entity, depending upon the tastes and preferences of its customers, will keep on introducing new products, will keep on withdrawing the old products. Withdrawing old products does not mean withdrawal from the business. My business still remains the same, and that is the reason I cannot say it's a discontinuing operation. Another extremely good example that of course every one of you will be able to understand is, think about a mobile manufacturing company. Think about a company like Samsung, think about a company like Apple, think about a company like Oppo, right? They are basically manufacturing newer and newer models of mobile phones. They will introduce new mobile phones in the market, while old mobile phones will be gradually withdrawn from the market. So if you are someone like me, for example, right, I buy a mobile phone and then I don't change it frequently. So I buy a mobile phone and let's say after 4 or 5 years, I want exactly the same model. For example, I have already purchased one model of a particular phone and I am very much used to, I have become very convenient with that model. After 5 years, I want to sell that model and I want to buy a new same model. A very high chance that that model will no longer be available in the market. Because in the next 5 years, so much of research and innovation has already got into the mobile technology. So the new mobile phones which are available are far superior than the old ones. But yes, since I have got used to a particular mobile phone, I want exactly the same model. I'll tell you, after 4 or 5 years, I may not even get a mobile cover for that particular model. Forget about buying that same mobile. I will not even get a cover for that, a mobile cover or a mobile case for that particular model. Because newer models have now got introduced, older models have been withdrawn, but withdrawing old models is not a discontinuing operation. Why? Why it's not a discontinuing operation? Because the mobile manufacturing company is not withdrawing from the business of manufacturing mobiles. Its business is still to manufacture mobiles only, but obviously it will make changes in its product portfolio. It will introduce better products in the market, and the older products will be withdrawn. Withdrawing the older products is not a discontinuing operation. Similarly, if you're a service provider, then withdrawing a particular class of service, that is also not considered to be a discontinuing operation. So there might be quite a few services that you are providing. Think about as a CA firm, let's say you are providing services for GST consultation, let's say income tax consultation, even assurance and audit, even other consultancy services are offered by you. But over a period of time, quite possible that your expertise is more and more in the GST area, more and more in the income tax area. Finally, a time comes where you feel that I don't have much assignments of audit, let me discontinue that particular service. Discontinuing that service is not withdrawal from the business for you, because you are still in the business of consultancy as far as GST and income tax is considered. So simply withdrawing from one class of service does not mean it is a discontinuing operation, right? The second possibility, shifting of some production activities from one location to another. You have to concentrate on this word, right? Some production activities. Discontinuing operation is all about entire withdrawal, and if not entire, substantial withdrawal. Some withdrawal, that means few withdrawals here and there, that does not become a discontinuing operation. So it's quite possible that I have one factory in India, I have one factory in China, right? So I'm having some production activities at two different destinations, and then over a period of time I realize that my product is more in demand in India. So what I do is, to some extent, 20%, 30% production facility which was there in China, I gradually shifted to India. I am not withdrawing entirely from China. My factory will still run in China, but let us say at 80% capacity, while I am transferring a lot of machines to India, and in India I am expanding my business. I am not withdrawing from business. I am not even withdrawing from a geographical area of operation, and that is the reason this is not a discontinuing operation. But yes, if I shut down the entire factory in China, I just shut it down, either entirely or substantially, then it will become a discontinuing operation. But the word that we concentrate here is some. Few things here and there from one location to another, it does not amount to a discontinuing operation. Many a times you may even shut down one or more processes so that you can improve productivity, so that you can reduce the cost. For example, I am manufacturing a particular product. Let us say I have to introduce my input, and then there is process 1, then there is process 2, then there is process 3, and finally I get my output. So I carry out 3 processes in my industrial unit, and then my final product will be ready. Over a period of time, I observe that there is another company which is already doing process 1. I realize that when I do process 1, the cost which I have to incur, and that same processed material which is already available in the market and the cost incurred over there is actually on a lower side. Quite possible that the other party is doing this process 1 on bulk basis. So I have all the 3 machines which will carry out all the 3 processes. But quite possible that when I start the input and when I do the processing, let us say it is costing me rupees 10 per unit. My processing cost for the first process is rupees 10 per unit, while already processed raw material is available in the market at, let us say, 7 rupees a unit. Then why should I pay 3 rupees extra? And that is the reason I decide to shut down the first process. From that other party, I will buy processed raw material. Processed raw material? Process 1 is already done on that raw material. And then I start my production process. So I shut down one process and then I carry out the other 2 processes. Is shutting down of process 1 a discontinuing operation? Ask yourself, what is a discontinuing operation? Withdrawing from a business. Am I withdrawing from the business over here? I'm still manufacturing that same final product, isn't it? I'm still manufacturing the same final product. Instead of doing all the 3 processes, now I will do only 2 processes. Why? Because it helps me in reducing the cost. Shutting down process 1 does not mean you are withdrawing from the business. Your business still remains the same. My business is to sell this output. What difference does it make whether I do all the 3 processes or I do only 2 processes? As far as the quality of the final product remains the same, my consumers are not going to complain. What do you say? If you are a consumer of this particular product, there is no change in its taste, there is no change in its flavor, right? It's all remaining the same. Who cares whether you do all the 3 processes or you do only 2 processes or maybe only 1 process? As long as the quality is maintained, as long as the product remains up to the same standard, consumers are not going to argue whether you did 3 processes, 2 or maybe only 1. That is the reason we can say that we are not withdrawing from the business. My business is to still sell the final output. So shutting down 1 process to improve productivity or shutting down 1 process to reduce the cost, it is not a discontinuing operation. And finally, if you are selling shares of a subsidiary, that is also not a discontinuing operation. Subsidiary means a company that you are controlling. So let us say A has 80% shares in B, and now A sells all 80% shares. Okay. So let us say B is doing a particular business and you have purchased 80% shares of that company. And now what I do is I sell away the shares of that particular company. This does not mean I am discontinuing any business. This does not mean I am withdrawing from any geographical area of operation. This is simply an investment decision. I purchased 80% shares, let's say. I waited for 4 or 5 years, the share price has risen on the stock market, and now I dispose of those shares and I exit from that company. Selling the shares of a subsidiary does not mean you are withdrawing from a business, does not mean you are withdrawing from a geographical area of operation. And that is the reason we cannot consider it to be a discontinuing operation.